Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Bhagavad Gita. Today we will be continuing to study the universal form of the Lord, which is the Virat Rupa, from the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We will be looking at text number 5, and we will see if we will go further than that. That's where we will begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलम् श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So 11.5 of Bhagavad Gita. I actually plan to cover a lot today. Let's see. Shri Bhagavan Pashya me partha rupani shatashotha sahasrashah nana vidhani divyani nana varnakritini cha. Shri Bhagavan the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Pashya, just see, me, my, Partha, O son of Pritha, Rupani, forms, Shatashah, hundreds, Atha, also, Sahasrashah, thousands, Nana Vidhani, variegated, Divyani, divine, Nana, variegated, Varna, colors, Akritini, forms, Cha, also. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of very divine and multicolored forms. Purport. Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in his universal form, which, although a transcendental form, is just manifested for the cosmic manifestation and is therefore subject to the temporary time of this material world. As the material nature is manifested and not manifested, similarly, this universal form of Krishna is manifested and non-manifested. It is not eternally situated in the spiritual sky like Krishna's other forms. As far as a devotee is concerned, he is not eager to see the universal form, but because Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in this way, Krishna reveals this form. This universal form is not possible to be seen by any ordinary man. Krishna must give one the power to see it. There's actually a lot that can be unpacked from this. I was just thinking if I can cover the next few verses as well and then go a little bit deep into it. Mm. So, okay, so we will go to the next verse, 11:6. पश्यादित्यान् वसून् रुद्रान् अश्विनौ मरुतस्तथा बहून्यदृष्टपूर्वाणि पश्याश्चर्याणि भारत. O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras, and all the other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard of before. You see? Adrishta Purvani, Pashya Ashcharyani Bharata. Adrishta Purvani Pashya. It's never before seen. Purport. Even though Arjuna was a personal friend of Krishna and the most advanced of learned men, it was still not possible for him to know everything about Krishna. Here it is stated that humans have neither heard nor known of all these forms and manifestations. Now Krishna reveals these wonderful forms. 7. Ihaikastham jagatkritsnam pashyadya sacharacharam mama dehe gudakesha yachanyad drashtumichhasi. O Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything, moving and non moving, is here completely in one place. Jagat Kritsnam. Kritsnam means completely. Ekastham, in one place. Ihaikastham Jagat Kritsnam. This is very unique. Where? Who has the lens? These are not simply some, fairy tales. This is the most scientific thing, the most advanced scientific vision, which, people, the scientists, they have thrown some telescopes, some, what is that, Voyager, what is that, Hubble, what is that, James Webb telescope, and then the Hubble Space Telescope, which is traveling somewhere outside the solar system somewhere. They're trying to see something outside there with all these instruments. Look at this, compare that, the enormous endeavor to send these spacecrafts and take photographs and imaging, and then they come back to this earth in the form of radio signals. I mean, this is what they say. How much of it is true, what is true, we do not know. And we have been shown images of space. Recently, the James Webb telescope, James Webb Space Telescope, is it something? It has given an image of the universe of gases that are unseen before, and extended farther into the distance, and how to explain what they explain as stellar lens. So they say the black holes bend light. So what is behind the black hole, you can kind of see, because light bends like that, and light coming from there bends and then comes here. So what is behind there, we can see. This is what they say. And then because it's very, very billions of years in the past, I mean billions of light years away, Therefore, whatever we are seeing now is actually billions of years in the past. So, whatever we see in the sky is past actually. We're not seeing the present because light takes time to travel and then we don't see it right away. So, light takes time to come here even. So, we have a very distorted, we think everything is we are seeing in the present, but it's not. What we are seeing mostly in the sky is past. Even they say the sun, light takes like 8 minutes to come here. So when we see the sun, it's actually we are seeing the sun as it was 8 minutes ago. So all what we see in the sky is past. Now what Krishna is offering Arjuna is a vision, is a divine. Actually, I will go to the next verse as well. We will cover this all together. Just this one line, so much can be spoken. Ihaikastham jagat kritsnam pasyadya sa characharam. Beautiful. I mean, the entire space missions of the world so far pale completely in comparison to descriptions like these. When I was first reading Bhagavad Gita, I very much wanted to become a space scientist and a defense scientist. Very much, I was very much influenced by the autobiography of Abdul Kalam, Dr. Abdul Kalam of India, who was pioneering the space research program and the defense program in India, the DRDO and the ISRO. So he had this book, The Wings of Fire, his autobiography. So I read that, and I would read anything in the newspapers about defense or space technology. I would read every single word of the article multiple times, sometimes each lines, because I would just relish those words. So when I came to Bhagavad Gita, I was blown away by the second chapter itself, because there were weapons. Because I was always interested in defense technology, and when I used to follow. I mean, what are the fighter jets of the Russians, the Americans, the Israeli, the French, um, Germans, the defense technology. So anyway, I was kind of following all these things and how they would deploy the defense equipment on borders of the countries. So I was just used to be very fascinated by all of that. So when I came to Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, 23rd and 24th verses, अच्छेद्योयम अदाह्योयम अक्लेद्यो शोष्यैव च नित्य sarvagata achaloyam sanatana. And then what is the other one? That is 224. 223 is nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakah nachan what is that? Kledayanti apo nasoshayati marutah. So it is said there that the soul cannot be killed by, cannot be cut to pieces, cannot be withered by the wind, moistened by water, dried by fire, burned by fire. So there Prabhupada explains in the purport that there were missiles which were now we only know fire weapons. Even the nuclear bomb is a fire weapon, but there used to be water weapons, air weapons, and all kinds of weapons, earth weapons, and one kind of weapon used to be able to be counteracted with another kind of weapon. It was like fascinated. I was so fascinated already. And then when it came to this kind of stuff, in the universal form, I was like, oh, all these telescopes, that's space technology, everything is waste then. Because if Krishna wants, Arjuna could see, and Krishna, not if just Krishna wants. I mean, Krishna wants us to know actually. You see, here, of course, Arjuna saw it, but although we don't qualify like Arjuna, we can have second-hand experience of what Arjuna experienced here. We can vicariously experience what Arjuna personally experienced firsthand by just reading about the descriptions. See, ihaikastham jagat krishnam pasyadya characharam, pasyadya sa characharam. So, let's read the purport and let's go to the next verse as well. I think that's where we will stop. Purport: no one can see the entire universe while sitting in one place. See the exact point. This is the point I was trying to make. Even the most advanced scientist cannot see what is going on in other parts of the universe, but a devotee like Arjuna can see everything that exists in any part of the universe. Krishna gives him the power to see anything he wants to see, past, present, and future. Thus, by the mercy of Krishna, Arjuna is able to see everything. See that? Past, present, and future. We just now talked. When we see in the sky, we are looking at the past. We are looking presently at the past. So, but what Arjuna could see transcended the limits of space, time, and everything. The space and time seemed, you know, his vision was so perfect because Krishna gave him. Next verse is that Natumam shakyase drashtum anenaiva swachakshusha divyam dadami te chakshuh pashyame yogamaishwaram. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence. Purport: a pure devotee does not like to see Krishna in any form except his form with two hands. A devotee must see his universal form by his grace, not with the mind but with spiritual eyes. To see the universal form of Krishna, Arjuna is told not to change his mind but his vision. The universal form of Krishna is not very important. That will be clear in subsequent verses. Yet, because Arjuna wanted to see it, the Lord gives him the particular vision required to see that universal form. Devotees who are correctly situated in transcendental relationship with Krishna are attracted by loving features, not by a godless display of opulences. The playmates of Krishna, the friends of Krishna, and the parents of Krishna never want Krishna to show his opulences. They are so immersed in pure love that they do not even know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In their loving exchange, they forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the boys who play with Krishna are all highly pious souls, and after many, many births, they are able to play with Krishna. Such boys do not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They take him as a personal friend. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami recites this verse. Itham satam brahma sukhanubhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena maya shritanam naradarakena sakam vijahruh krita punya punjah. Here is the Supreme Person who is considered the impersonal Brahman by great sages, the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotees, and a product of material nature by ordinary men. See, to all different classes of people, he is appearing differently. Now, these boys who have performed many, many pious activities in their past lives are playing with that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 12, 11. The fact is that the devotee is not concerned with seeing the Vishwarupa, the universal form, but Arjuna wanted to see it to substantiate Krishna's statements so that in the future people could understand that Krishna not only theoretically or philosophically presented himself as the Supreme, but actually presented himself as such to Arjuna. Arjuna must confirm this because Arjuna is the beginning of the Parampara system. Those who are actually interested in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and who follow in the footsteps of Arjuna should understand that Krishna not only theoretically presented himself as the Supreme, but actually revealed himself as the Supreme. The Lord gave Arjuna the necessary power to see his universal form because he knew that Arjuna did not particularly want to see it, as we have already explained. That's quite paradoxical, isn't it? The Lord gave Arjuna the necessary power to see his universal form because he knew that Arjuna did not particularly want to see it. That means if he wants to see it, he will not show. Because we are not concerned about him, we are just concerned with the opulences. Without, in fact, in the beginning, when I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, I was puzzled. Why would the devotees not be interested to see this beautiful form which never before was seen and heard of before? And I can see everything that I want to see in one place. Wouldn't that be just wonderful? I was thinking like that. But, you know, as we mature more and more, we understand that that is actually sense gratification. We want to see everything. We're not interested in Krishna again. We want to use Krishna to see everything else, everything else than Krishna. We're not interested in Krishna. We're interested in the opulences of Krishna, just like the materialists are, and therefore they are called Shaktas. Shaktas means one who worships the Shaktis of Krishna, not Krishna himself, independently of Krishna. They worship his Shakti. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. He has multifarious energies. Now, if you see the materialists, they will appreciate a scenery, they will appreciate nature, they will appreciate so many things but the Lord. But all these so many things, what are they? They are just energies of the Lord on display. They are very interested in those energies and they are very interested to see them and enjoy them. So they want to see opulence so that they can enjoy that opulence. That's the mentality by which they approach. And that's the exact reason why Krishna does not show himself. Here, Arjuna did not have that mentality. He was not particularly interested in the universal form because he did not want his natural devotion to be curtailed by such display of opulence. Because there is like when Arjuna eventually saw the universal form, you can see in the later verses of this chapter, Arjuna becomes frightened. Because we cannot, first of all, we cannot handle the amount of information there is. We cannot handle even 1 trillionth of that, 1 gazillionth of that. We are unable to handle. Imagine all past, present, future, and all space in one place, sitting. What kind of a vision that would be? And I mean, later on we will see those descriptions, but nothing will really do complete justice to really describe that universal form. And the other thing about universal form is that, when Arjuna saw such massive scale of things, he understood that the Lord is totally in control and complete, absolute control of everything. And there is absolutely nothing we can do to serve such a person who is so indomitable, unconquerable, and so vast, so much more powerful than we ever can be. So, what can I do here now? I can just be awestruck and then I will be dumbstruck and I will be fear stricken because it's just so imposing. Whereas for the devotee, he is more interested in wanting to serve the Lord. And when everything is already done, what do you want to do? So the Lord, he wants to make us feel that he needs our service. That's what he does to the Vrindavan Masis, for example. Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, she thinks that Krishna needs protection, Krishna needs nourishment. She thinks like that, and therefore she serves. That's the mood in which she feels like wanting to serve. But if we already know that Krishna can do anything and he does everything, he's so imposing, what can we do? Where is the service attitude? So service attitude is kind of killed in that. But nevertheless, the universal form has its purposes, many purposes. And one of the purpose is like to distinguish between real and fake God, because real God should be able to show the universal form if asked, and he can actually do it. But in Kali Yuga, there will be many people who will, be fake incarnations and they cannot show the universal form. So that's one thing to substantiate that not only, as Prabhupada said in the earlier purport, that not only did he theoretically present himself as the Supreme, but actually showed to Arjuna that here I am, the Supreme. I'm in complete control of everything, past, present, future, and of all space and all time. I'm the complete controller. And Arjuna needed special vision granted by the Lord so that he could see all these things. This is another important thing. What is that? Divyam dadami te chakshuhu. The Lord has to give us the capability to see anything. Here to see everything in the case of Arjuna, but to we don't have vision of life on other planets. We have no experience in our current form. We don't have experience of such existence where people were, unlimitedly, how to say, especially, this access to other planets, for example, that in Kali Yuga and like in Yudhishthir Maharaj's time, that was actually a kind of a common occurrence. People used to come here, even Parikshit Maharaj, what to speak. When he heard the Bhagavatam, people, sages from other planets came. But such free, intermingling between denizens of this planet and other planets stopped right at the beginning of Kali Yuga, because there is no more yajna being performed and the denizens of heaven, they're not interested here. So such unlimited travel, restricted travel was not seen ever since Parikshit Maharaj's time. So Arjuna was given these eyes to see everything in one place. So there's no need of all these science, technology, and everything. We just have to depend on the Lord. Just like the yogis are also trying to see many things by their own mystic power. The scientists are trying to get that mystic power in other ways, through machines, through instruments, etc. But the devotee, what he does is he simply depends on Yogeshwar Krishna. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruvani Tirmatirmama. Wherever there is Krishna, and where will Krishna be? Where there is devotee. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara. So where there is a devotee like Arjuna, then there is a Yogeshwar Krishna also. So Yogeshwar, the devotee depends on the Yogeshwar, the master of all yoga. He is not personally interested in any yoga practice. He is not interested in scientific advancement. But like Arjuna, he did not invent any telescopes and Hubble telescopes and send them out in space, launch rockets like Elon Musk and bring the launcher back. Now they consider Elon Musk a genius. I mean, come on. As much as it requires a lot of intelligence to do that, no doubting that. But that's the tiny kind of things we can do with our tiny intelligence. But you see what Arjuna did? Just by relying on Krishna, he had a vision where there is no need of a rocket. What to speak of going up and coming down and all that? No need of it anymore. Just sitting in one place, he could see everything. No need to launch rockets, no need to nothing. What kind of intelligence that is, what kind of technology that is, what kind of yogic power that is, in whichever way you want to look at it, is the most advanced. He had the most advanced vision of anything that anybody could ever have. So This is the other aspect of the universal form, which is the Lord has to give us the power in order for us to do anything actually. If we just depend on the Lord, that's the best way to do anything. The devotees are not interested in this material world. Brahma Bhumana Loka Punaravartana Arjuna. All the different parts of the universe and everything is just, places of miseries. So he's not really interested in this. But he will still appreciate the Lord's creation of this wonderful cosmos. He will appreciate the artist. He will not just appreciate the art and not appreciate the artist. That is hypocrisy. But he will appreciate the artist. So even if he sees Sthavar Jangam dekhe na dekhe tar murti, sarvatra hoy nija ishta deva spurti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. So a pure devotee, he even though he sees all the different things in this world, he actually sees his Lord everywhere. That's the secret. Now, I want to delve into another aspect of this universal form. This universal form serves another purpose. Universal form serves another purpose. What is that? It is actually a blueprint for creation. You know, there is this in the Rig Veda. There is the Purusha Sukta prayers. Purusha Sukta. Sukta means su ukta. Ukta means words, statements of glorification. Su ukta means very fine statements, very nice statements. Sukta. So Purusha Sukta. So nice words in glorification of the Purusha, the enjoyer. Who? The Lord. Now in the Purusha Sukta, if you actually know the meaning, it's describing the universal form. Om Sahasrashirsha Purushaha Sahasrakshah Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva Atyatishthadashangulam. So, this is the first verse of the Purusha Sukta. Now, Sahasrashirsha Purushaha Sahasrakshah Sahasrapat. So, he is described as having millions of thousands of heads. Sahasrashirsha. Purusha Sahasraksha, thousands of eyes. Sahasrapat, thousands of legs. Now, how to imagine a creature which has thousands of heads, thousands of? It would be a horrible looking creature in our estimation, like an earthworm with so many faces all around. It will look horrible, you know. So this is what our imagination will lead us to: a horrible insect, a centipede or a millipede with thousands of legs, and thousands of legs means what? Sahasrapat means what? It's a millipede in our idea. So is it describing a millipede, or it's like a horrible looking millipede, grotesque? No. How can it be beautiful, majestic, fearful, dominating, and all consuming, and all at the same time? So the Lord is not horrible. The Lord is the epitome of beauty, epitome of power, epitome of fame, everything, all the six opulences. Shadaishwarya Purna. Shadaishwarya Purna means all the six opulences in infinite quantity. So, how can it be? So, the Srimad Bhagavatam, I want to go through that. Okay, you see this chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6, Purusha Sukta confirmed, the cosmic manifestation. Now, let's go to this. Let's see what these Sahasra Shirsha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat are. If I go back, okay, before we come here, okay, 11, 12. One second, 11, 13, is it? Mm. Tatraikastham, again, ekastham. Um, what is that? Krishna said, ekastham jagat kritsnam. Here also, tatraikastham jagat kritsnam pravibhaktam anekadha apashyad devadevasya sharire pandavastada. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe, situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. So, what are these unlimited expansions of the universe? What are the expansions of the universe? Now, you know, I was reading this book the other day, the Tattvavit. Um, so, as I was reading, there was a small, very, very, very small insect on the page, on one of the pages. It was like a dot. I had to look very closely and see that actually it was moving. I just flicked it away. So I was just thinking, hmm. So this insect is on the page of this book. It is so close to the ultimate knowledge of the absolute truth, and yet it has no idea whatsoever. It has no access to the information of the page, although it is on the page. Another example is, I always gave this example that, you know, if I have a SD card and I say, there are so many photos here, so many nice images of sceneries or your friends or this and that. You go and if you open it, if you open the SD card and you look at where are the pictures, it's all some green soldered, something, some chip, inside. What are you talking about? But if I have the necessary hardware, if I put it inside the, slot on the computer, then I can see, oh wow, yes, so many nice photos, videos, or whatever it is. So I can touch it, but I cannot access it. See what I mean? Just like the insect. So the other day when I was reading and I saw that insect, this insect is here, it's touching the book, but it's not accessing the book. So similarly, we ourselves, now we understand some things. Similarly, we are in this world, we are touching this world, but actually we cannot access every part of this world. The insect could access the paper, yes, and maybe came to eat the paper, I don't know. It can access the paper definitely, yes, and I'm also touching the paper. But I'm having a very different experience by flipping these pages compared to the insect going around in those pages. It has probably spent more time on that book than I did. I think it must have been there for very long. And but what I could gather from the book and what the insect could gather, worlds apart, right? So our access, just because we can touch something with our senses, not only with our sense of touch, I'm saying, with any of our senses, just because we can um, interact with the sense objects does not mean we're accessing every layer of that experience. We're only like what the insect and I, we had a common layer of experience, which was this touch of the paper, yes. And maybe I don't know how the insect would have seen the paper, but it at least touched the paper. So that touch, yes, we both had. But then the effect it had on the mind when I was reading what I was reading, and the insect is totally different. So accessing does not mean just being in proximal, in just being proximate to that thing. So moon landing. So we can maybe touch the moon. Maybe our spacecraft, our landers actually went to the moon. Let's give it to them. Okay, you know what? You landed on the moon. You took your machine and you actually made it land on the moon. Still, you cannot access now. You cannot access because these subtle layers of all the other layers which our sense, like what, how did Arjuna sitting in one place see the entire cosmos, past, present, and future, and all space, all time, everything in one place? What kind of vision is that? That's a different vision. That's a different um, set of instruments that he was given by Krishna. So there is such a vision. I mean, of course, this is very special vision and nobody has ever seen, and Krishna gave it to Arjuna. But that means Arjuna saw things way beyond any creature of this universe could see. Let's give you an estimate. Okay, we will come back to here and put to Purusha Sukta confirmed, but I'll just show you. I think you have seen this 5:16:4. Okay, ऋषिरुवाच न वै महाराज भगवतो माया गुण विभूतेः काष्ठां मनसा वचसा वाधिगन्तुम् अलम विबुधायुषापि पुरुषस्तस्मात् प्राधान्येनैव भूगोलक विशेषं नामरूपमान लक्षणतो व्याख्यास्यामः. So, see, the great Rishi Shukdev Goswami said, "My dear king, there is no limit to the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's material energy." We're not talking about no limit to the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No. There is no limit to the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's material energy. This material world is a transformation of the material qualities, Sattvaguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Yet no one could possibly explain it perfectly, even in a lifetime as long as that of Brahma. No one in the material world is perfect, and an imperfect person could not describe this material universe accurately, even after continued speculation. O king, I shall nevertheless try to explain to you the principal regions of such as the Bhugolaka or Bhuloka with their names, forms, measurements, and various symptoms. So, this is the position of the universe. Nobody can describe it accurately, even in the lifetime of Brahma, but that whole entire thing, with the Lord in control, that kind of vision, Arjuna had in one place. Imagine Sukadeva Goswami, whom even Narada Muni and his own spiritual master Vyasadeva and his Paramaguru Narada Muni came to listen when he was speaking the Bhagavatam. That was the stature of Sukadeva Goswami. And he is saying, even in a lifetime of Brahma, nobody can actually describe this material world perfectly. Arjuna saw it with complete relation to Krishna. So just see. That means what I'm trying to impress upon you is there are different layers of experience of the same thing. Of the same thing. That's why it is said in that verse, unlimited expansions of the universe. Just like the experience of a paper on a book, in a book, there are more layers. I mean, there are maybe limited layers of experience. Maybe there is more, A pure devotee may can have, even like Prabhupada said, in every page of Bhagavatam, there is Krishna there. Now, we are reading the philosophy, yes, in that way we are kind of. But pure devotee has maybe even a higher version of that same thing in his vision that we don't have experience of. Like when we go to Vrindavan, with our eyes, we cannot see. Every morning we are singing in the Tulsi Arti, Nayane he ribo sada jugal rupa rashi. So we are begging the, Morai Abhilash, Vilas Kunje Diovas. So we are Morai Abhilash. My desire is this, that I want to be a resident of Vrindavan. And with these eyes, I want to see Jugal Rupa Rasi. So all the pastimes and forms of the Yugala Rupa, means the couple, the divine couple Radha Krishna. So we actually cannot see when we go to Vrindavan with our material eyes. But the spiritual, what is that? Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. As we will find later in the chapter of this universal form, Prabhupada explains in the purport as well that more difficult than the universal form is to see the four-handed form of the Lord, and even more difficult than that is to see the two-handed form of the Lord. As much as we are thinking, we are universal form, but actually it is even more difficult to see the two-handed form of the Lord. So it is that confidential. Yes. So 6:429. Yes, it's mentioned in the Well, let's go there. It's a nice verse actually. No one with any material mind, nobody can, you see, yadyan yadyan यद्यन्निरुक्तं वचसा निरूपितं धियाक्षभिर्वा मनसोत यस्य मा भूत्स्वरूपं गुणरूपं हि तत्त स वै गुणापाय विसर्गलक्षणः. Anything expressed by material vibrations, anything ascertained by material intelligence, and anything experienced by material senses or concocted within the material mind is but an effect of the modes of material nature and therefore has nothing to do with the real nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is beyond the creation of this material world, for He is the source of the material qualities and creation. As the cause of all causes, He exists before the creation and after the creation. I wish to offer my respectful obeisances unto Him. See that? So, when this verse is stated, for okay, 42969. सत्वैकनिष्ठे मनसि भगवत्पार्श्ववर्तिनि तमश्चन्द्रमसि वेदम् उपरज्यावभासते. Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon. So, exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Now, you see, Arjuna could see in one place, from one place, everything past, present, future, everything. But he still did not see what Krishna sees. Because Krishna only gave him, that eyes to see the universal form. Still very wonderful, sitting in one place to see everything. But for Krishna, it's not at all overwhelming. It's very calm for him. And he knows the desires of every living entity, from the worm in the stool to the microbe, all the way to Brahma. He knows the past, present, and future of every single one and know their feelings, and he has feelings for them individually. Usually when we are attached to one person, we're attached to that person very much, and then not so much to other persons. We don't have that much attachment. So we have differences, different degrees of attachment to different people in our lives. And when we're focusing on one thing, we cannot focus on another thing. When we're focusing on one person, we cannot focus on another person. We have all these limitations. But for Krishna, he's heavily invested in each and every one of us. He loves us dearly. Like every one of us devotees, if we all felt some connection with Krishna. Oh, Krishna was so kind, he did this, he made me realize this, or something, right? We all feel like Krishna is personally dealing with us. And actually, he does that. We can't personally deal with everyone at the same time. For example, a good example is this broadcast. Apparently, I'm speaking to each one of you in your homes, right in front of you. But for me, that's not the experience. For you, it's a personal experience that, okay, I'm there on that device for you. But for me, the experience is different. I'm talking to a camera. I'm not even talking to any person. I'm looking into a lens and speaking. There's nobody in this room. I'm just alone in this room. So the experience is different. Now, for Krishna, though, he's personally with every single living entity, and for each and every one of them, he feels his fullest compassion and love. That Arjuna did not have a vision of in that universal form. It's all very awe-inspiring and frightening, in fact. That loving aspect is almost absent. It was conspicuous by its absence in that form that he saw. Because, although he gave him the eyes, still he could not handle the extent of his powers. So, the Lord has still a higher vision than what he even gave Arjuna. Much higher. I mean, it's infinite times higher than what he gave Arjuna. Even that was already so wonderful according to our calculations. But Krishna's vision is even higher than that. So, um, so when you say exactly as the Supreme Lord does, to see the world exactly as he does, to the extent that he can show us. Otherwise, honestly, we cannot see everything like the Lord does. We can just not see that. We cannot see that. But we can hear about what he reveals to us. We can never completely know him. Okay, so now I want to go to that chapter, Purusha Sukta. Okay, let's go to 2.6, Purusha Sukta confirmed. Now let's see what is the other significance of the universal form. Okay, because Purusha Sukta is actually describing this universal form, and here Purusha Sukta confirmed means the universal form is being described here in this chapter. Actually, if you see, and we will go to the just the translations to save time. You see here, Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and the other 6 layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the people, and the general mass of people. His 2 nostrils are the generating centers of our breathing and of all other airs. His smelling powers generate the Ashwini Kumara, demigods, and all kinds of medicinal herbs, and his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance. So we can only, it's our knowledge acquiring senses. You see the difference here. Our nostrils are is a knowledge acquiring sense, jnanendriya. By the nostrils, we get the fragrance. We can sense the fragrance of something else. We can sense the fragrance exuding from some flower or something like that. But from the Lord, from the 2 nostrils, he is not sense perceiving, but he's actually creating the sense object, creating the experience, and creating the senses. So the sense object is smell, sense is nose. What is that? No. Yeah, the experience, the fragrance, and then the pleasantness or the like detesting feeling or whatever. All these things he's creating. He's creating an object, he's creating how it is felt by our senses, but his senses are creating those things. Our senses are only experiencing those things according to what he has created. So, from his nostrils, he can create, from his eyes, he can, just like the sun. First, our eyes, if anything, light reflects on something, we can see that. That's our eyes. But Chaksho Shuryo Ajayata, so one of the hymns of the Purusha Sukta. Um, चंद्रमा मनसो जातः चक्षोः सूर्यो अजायत. What is that? इंद्रश्चाग्निश्च प्राणाद् वायुरजायत. I forgot one word. So चंद्रमा मनसो जातः चक्षोः सूर्यो अजायत. So from the what is that? From his mind, the moon came. But in our case, our mind is influenced by the moon, whereas the moon was influenced by the mind of Krishna. So you see, he's the first, and then the nature is acting as his proxy, and then we are influenced by that. See, so this is how the entire thing is situated. And the chaksho surya jayata. Once the sunlight falls on something, then our eyes start to work. We can perceive anything. We can see anything. But Krishna's eyes make everything seen, because his eyes are giving us the vision. We are just sensing whatever is there. So in that way, he is the original origin of everything. And Brahma is actually, you see, when you say Sahasra Shirsha, on thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of nostrils, thousands of, so these are all different. Like for example, in one place, from actually we will see, you see, um, his eyes are the generating centers for all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and are receptacles for all the Vedas, and his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound. Nabhya asit antariksham. Nabhya means the navel. From his navel comes the space. Um, in fact, the navel, his navel is deep. His navel is deep. And I was just thinking one day, the bending of space time that was described by Einstein, where everything bends. It's like if Nabhya asit antariksham, from his navel comes the antariksha, the entire outer space. So the bending of space time is like the bending of his navel as well, like the twists and turns of the navel. And his navel is very beautiful. What is that? Padmanabha. Padmanabha means Aravindanabha also. So that means lotus-like navel. Very beautiful. So anyway, his ears hear from all sides and are receptacles for all the Vedas, and his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound. Now you can go and read the purports. His bodily surface is the breeding ground for the active principles of everything and of all kinds of auspicious opportunities. His skin is the generating center for the moving air and all kinds of sense of touch, and is a place for performing all kinds of sacrifice. The hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation, particularly of those trees which are required as ingredients for sacrifice. The hairs on his head and face are reservoirs for the clouds, and his nails are the breeding ground of electricity, stones, and iron ores. The Lord's arms are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. Thus, the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection from all kinds of fear. From the Lord's genitals originate water, semen, generatives, rain, and the procreators, Prajapatis. His genitals are the cause of a pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting. Yanmaithunadi sukham hi tuchham. Yanmaithunadi grihamedhi sukham hi tuchham. But although it is tuchham, insignificant pleasure of the genitals, but it counteracts the distress of begetting. Because actually, begetting children is very, very, to maintain them, to raise them, it's a lot of work. But one is prepared to do all that for that tiny pleasure of a few seconds. He is willing to accept that whole responsibility, lifetime of responsibility for that few seconds of pleasure. So the exchange is very, very lopsided. But it is something which everybody does, um, and the whole world is running on that principle of sex. Pumsastriya mithuni bhavametad. So you see, so um, so that's that. O Narada, the evacuating outlet of the universal form of the Lord is the abode of the controlling deity of death. Mitra, and the evacuating hole and the rectum of the Lord is the place of envy, misfortune, death, hell, etc. The back of the Lord is the place for all kinds of frustration and ignorance, as well as for immorality. From his veins flow the great rivers and rivulets, and on his bones are stacked the great mountains. You know, there is actually so much meaning to the universal form. It will make a lot of sense if we just pay attention there. For example, you see, it's the blueprint for creation. So Brahma is saying all these things, and Sahasraksha, Sahasrashirsha. Now, in one of the descriptions is from his head come the heavenly planets, and then there is also the other description where it is said from his head come the Brahmanas. So how to so that is these are the different kinds of shirsha he has. One shirsha is the Brahmanas. One shirsha is the heavenly planets. One shirsha is, so different kinds of, in different ways his heads and legs are described, his hair or his every part of the body are described in different ways. So these are the Sahasra Shirsha. Not only literal faces, but also these subtle things which are the principles which exist as principles in this world all start with his body. So Brahma, when he sleeps, there is a pralaya that happens. There are four kinds of pralaya that happen. Continuous pralaya, intermittent pralaya. There are two verses in the Bhagavatam actually that describe this in the 12th canto. Maybe it's 12:4:7. I don't know. But anyway, my point is, all these different kinds of destruction, there are different kinds of pralaya that happen. So when Brahma sleeps every day, there is a pralaya that happens until the Swargaloka, everything is submerged in the universal waters. And then when he wakes up, he's afraid because the water level has risen so much. And then the water level subsides when and then he has to recreate all the lower planetary systems exactly as they were before. How does he do that? He remembers the Purusha Sukta. He remembers the universal form. And by meditating on the universal form, he remembers all those different categories of all the different heads that he has. Oh, Brahmanas, yes. Kshatriyas are the arms, Vaishyas, so the Varnashram system, yes. And then the heavenly, earthly, or the hairs on the body of the Lord are the trees. Okay, the trees, the vegetation all comes, and different types of vegetation. So in this way, it's like a blueprint for creation. So once he meditates on that universal form of the Lord, he knows exactly how to create everything. It's the seed formula for the entire creation. That's the universal form. And from each of his parts, all the other, he knows how to create the senses of different species by the power. Just like you see, his eyes are the sun and the moon, for example. Okay, so they give light. So the eyes of the living entity should be depending on that light. So wherever the light falls and reflects, that's what should be perceived by the eyes of the ordinary living entities. So in this way, he's coordinating with that understanding of the universal form. He's coordinating all aspects of creation. He knows exactly what to create and who, where, what, how, everything. So the universal form actually acts as the blueprint for recreation. So that reminds him, because Brahma forgets. Just like when we wake up in the morning, we're a little bit groggy, we don't remember, we are like not, at least for me, because I sometimes don't have enough sleep. And when I wake up, I'm all groggy. I mean, even today morning it happened. Alarm rang. I I thought I woke up, but I slept. So 15 minutes later, the alarm rang again. I woke up exactly in the same way as I woke up before. I thought, is this next day or is it the same day? I was groggy, mind was not in order. But actually, it was just 15 minutes apart. So, and then it takes a while for us to kind of completely get in, touch with what our duty is. Okay, this is what exactly I'm supposed to do and everything. So it can be very fast or it can be slow, depending on how groggy or how sleep deprived we are. So Brahma, he sleeps like how 4.32 billion years he sleeps, and then wakes up groggy. And this is where he starts his meditation on the universal form of the Lord, the Purusha Sukta. In fact, the demigods, when they go to the ocean of milk, they chant the Purusha Sukta prayers. And I was just reading in the Tattvavit again that the Vedas, the Itihasas, the Puranas, all that we know here, especially the Puranas, are 400,000 verses in total. The Puranas and Itihasas. In the Vedas, more. But the entire Vedas in the heavenly planets in the Brahmaloka, it's called just one Veda, Yajurveda. That's all. That's all the Veda there is. Yajurveda. Vyasta Vedataya Kyato Vedavyasa iti smritaha. So the Vedavyas, he divided that one Veda, Yajurveda, into 4 parts and expanded upon it. But actually, it's not really expansion because there is no something added, because the original Yajurveda is 1 billion verses. It contains all that we already have now in our different names of this Veda, that Veda, your Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Atharva Vedas, Samaveda. And then there are Itihasas, Puranas. But all these are actually part of that one Veda, Yajurveda, of the heavenly planets, which is 1 billion verses in length. And each layer of the heavenly planets has more and more and more and more details. So I do not know. This is my speculation probably, but the Purusha Sukta prayers on the heavenly planets may be even more detailed. Maybe, I don't know. But you see, Purusha Sukta confirmed. This chapter you can see, the Srimad Bhagavatam, that's why it is the Nigama Kalpatar or Galitam Phalamidam. So this is the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge. And in the Vedas, there is the Rig Veda, there is the Purusha Sukta. And this is the Purusha Sukta confirmed, which is actually describing all the different kinds of Sahasra Shesha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapad and all these things. And his veins are also described. Now, see the connection, see the beautiful connection. From the Lord's veins, we have the rivers. Okay. Based on that, our veins are also there. So there is definitely a connection, just like there is a connection between the Lord's universal form's eyes, or the sun, and our eyes. There is a connection. Similarly, there must be a connection with the Lord's veins, which are the rivers, and our veins. Now, in today's day and age, the rivers are polluted, the rivers are dammed, by a dam. They block the flow of these things. And you see, even in our health, the blockages of the veins and the arteries, the cholesterol, it's kind of a blockage. Because now you may say, come on, how is that related? Well, there are many subtle things that happen. We don't immediately may not be able to see the connection. But you see how we can see it in one way. Maybe there are other ways how this works. Now, damming the rivers, that was not done before. In Kali Yuga, with this industrialization, this damming and producing electricity from it, and irrigation systems from that, this is a new thing, in this in the age of industrialization. But what does that signify? The industrial development is a sign of godlessness, because if the because the valuable human life was spent, researching and coming up with these inventions, which were anarthas actually. In the ultimate issue, all of this is anartha. It is unnecessary. We just need to sustain and use our time for spiritual realization, and that's it. But because they took the time of their human life, some of the humans, they took it out of this most important business of spiritual cultivation and spent that energy somewhere else, doing some research, doing some machines and inventing some machines, and in this way it's a misdirected civilization. They already turned away from God and put their energy somewhere else, so that thing developed and the God consciousness diminished. And with that, this whole infrastructure of this whole factories and electricity, the dependence on electricity, and commercial farming, and also yajnat bhavati parjanya. Irrigation systems don't have to be this manually controlled water systems from damming and all that. This is a very atheistic idea of irrigation, because like the greenhouse and this kind of stuff is, if you observe what it is, they're trying to control as many things regarding the environment, the water supply, and the temperature, the sunlight, how much it gets. They're trying to control as much of it as possible in a greenhouse. And if it's not a greenhouse, if it's an open field and all that, still they want to control as much as possible, like the water supply, or as much as possible within human control. Whereas previously, people knew very well how the Lord wanted us to live, and He put in charge the demigods for supplies. So there was a very, very good rapport between the demigods and the humans. The humans did their sacrifice, and the demigods, rewarded them with timely supplies of all natural necessities, so that they don't have to worry. Oh, what if they don't have backup plans like that? Yajnat bhavati parjanya. By yajna, by sacrifice comes rain. Now, if you say that to the scientists, they will think you're a crazy guy. They'll think you're a crazy guy, because they do not understand that we can cooperate with these natural forces, which are actually under the demigods. That's the point. They don't understand these things. So they don't think of anything cooperation with some who. They think like that. We have to control as much as possible. That's how they think they can. So it's a very godless way of doing things. So we do not need that hydroelectricity or that irrigation system by damming the rivers. If we just depend on the Lord for everything, and the Lord would just give. Just like Arjuna, for example, he did not have to study a huge degree on space, what is that, technology, and then create a rocket, and then go somewhere, launch a satellite, and then we'll put a telescope on it, and then send radio signals back to Earth with the imaging. And those imaging, actually I wanted to say in the beginning of this lecture, when they do this imaging of the space and all that, it doesn't look anything like they show us. It is passed through computer design, graphic designers, to interpret each of the layers of whatever was taken image. It comes back as a very crappy image. They make it look like very colorful and very attractive, so that people are attracted to that so-called science. They make it more glamorous than it actually is. Actually, it looks stupid on the actual photograph. but they make it enhanced, unimaginably enhanced. Not just like a little bit, not like facial little bit touch, touch up. No, 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 it's not a touch up. It's no whole revamp of how it looked in the as original and how they show us. Complete different, completely different. So they do that to show, they interpret the different findings in that thing, and then they interpret those layers differently, and then they come up with some conclusions. It's a lot of speculation that is done there, and based on that speculation, the imaging is also accordingly processed, and that highly processed image is shown to us. Oh, we have found this. Look at this picture of deep space. How beautiful this is. That's not how they see it. It's cheating. Anyway, um, so again, coming back to the point of the rivers, the great rivers, from his veins flow the great rivers. That means if the rivers are blocked, then our veins also will be blocked. You see, there may be a direct correlation, but I can see an indirect correlation in this way. Okay, I may not be good enough to explain a direct correlation. If there is a good explanation, maybe there must be, there has to be. I'm sure there is, because if from his veins come the great rivers, they have to be somehow or other connected to our veins. So today we have a godless civilization where the rivers are dammed up because of a false, this whole dependence on electricity and all artificial irrigation systems, because yajna is no more there. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma they want to remove, only artha they want, economic development, so that they can have kama, unrestricted kama, sense gratification. So they're missing a very crucial point, a crucial part of it, the dharma part of it, and therefore they will never get moksha. They will just be entangled, and it's a spiral downward. If you have the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and then it will be a spiral upwards. Because everything is like used, and everything kind of, there is a synergy, because dharma will give artha will give kama, but all will be dharmic. And so the way economic development is happens is also dharmic, and then the kama also is dharmic, regulated sense gratification, regulated and responsible sense gratification, and then using that effects of kama also to again do dharma, and the artha also is again employed in dharma. So in this way it increases and increases and leads us to moksha. But if we have no dharma, only artha and kama, then it is a spiral downward. It will take us, so with artha comes kama, and because there's no dharma, there's unhinged, there's no moral ethics, nothing, and then they will do anything to get artha. They will steal, they will cheat. Yesterday we were discussing about this, um you know the issue with the paneer. Apparently the paneer that we get in the market is so adulterated, and I think I wrote a message there in one of our groups there, where I quoted from the 12th canto. Let me see. See, 12:3:35. Okay, you see, पणयिष्यन्ति वै क्षुद्राः किराटाः कूटकारिणः अनापद्य अनापद्यपि मांस्यन्ते वार्तां साधु जुगुप्सिताम्. Actually, we only need to the first line. Businessmen will engage in petty commerce and earn their money by cheating. So the artha without dharma will lead to kama, unrestricted kama, and to satisfy those unlimited desires, they want to get more artha. So they will go to cheating things they will do to get money, artha. So this is a spiral downward. It goes down and down, sinful life. So in this way, everything, the food is getting contaminated, and we'll get cholesterol. We get, how many heart attacks are nowadays? Everybody's getting a heart attack nowadays. Just today we got a news, one of our devotees, the mother got a heart attack. I mean, our lifestyle, everything is everything is not ideal at all. Far, far away from ideal. We don't have sufficient exercise. We think we're saving time. You know, we have a washing machine to wash our clothes, and then we have a gym membership to exercise. People used to exercise by doing their own hobby job, and then they get some exercise from that. But now, no, no, no. I'll save time. Washing machine. I'll go to the gym and exercise there. Like, what is the so we created so many problems with this focus on the unnecessary instead of focusing on the paramartha, the actual goal of life. We have focused on anartha, unnecessary things with this economic development, industrial development. All these are unnecessary things. And then one thing led to another, led to another. And then to have one thing, we need to have a whole other suite of things in order for that to work. For example, we want transport systems to be efficient. Okay, now you have to lay out a whole road system, rail system. Then you have to have oil supply. You have to dig oil for that. You have to have trade with other countries which have oil if I don't have oil. And in that there are wars because some want oil, somewhere. So, how many things is leading up to? Because of oil, how many wars took place? Because of America, they went to the Middle East and did mess of the Middle East because of oil. And that oil powers all the vehicles, and that there are road systems, then there is taxes to construct the infrastructure, and we are made to work harder so that government can have more taxes to have more infrastructure to support more businesses, more work, more. It's just ugra karma. It's just horrible. Just today I was seeing one short video. What is a YouTube Shorts vertical? There's this data center by China under the sea, because data centers need to be cooled to a very low temperature because it gets easily heated up. So they thought the water in the ocean is the best coolant, and then but it's a high risk and high, how to say, demanding thing, that they have data centers under the ocean, and that's where all the computing of the mega computers and AI and all these are happening in China, off the coast of Harbin. So, I mean, this is how many things we are doing just for our, so-called convenience. How much inconvenience we are taking up for a paltry convenience. The biggest problem here in this whole thing is our time is being lost. Our valuable human life is spent for just, maintaining these artificial necessities which we don't even need. We don't really need in the ultimate issue. We just need food, shelter, clothing. That's all we need. And a little bit of knowledge of medicine and some, basic defense from, animals and other, there was, of course, kingdoms, they were there. Very simple. I mean, it's not too complicated. Now we have complicated our life too much. So there's definitely connection between veins and the rivers and our veins. And on his bones are stacked the great mountains. Definitely there must be, connection to all this and our body as well. So in this way, Brahma uses all these connections. In fact, there must be so many more connections which we may not even able to comprehend. And Brahma has all that vision when he thinks of the universal form of the Lord. That is the Purusha Sukta. So Avyakta Rasa Sindhunam, yeah. The impersonal feature of the Lord is the abode of the great oceans, and his belly is the resting place for the materially annihilated living entities. His heart is the abode of the subtle material bodies of the living beings. Thus it is known by the intelligent class of men. Then, also the consciousness of that great personality is the abode of religious principles. You see, even the consciousness, this is not just the external body, head, arms, belly, and legs, that's all, only the four parts and nothing else. No, we have so much complicated systems in our body. Imagine all these things are there in the Lord as well. Even the consciousness, subtle aspects. The consciousness of our great personality is the abode of religious principles, mine, yours, Lord Shiva's, and those of the four bachelors, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumara. That consciousness is also the abode of truth and transcendental knowledge. Then, beginning from me, Brahma, down to you and Bhava, Shiva, and all the great sages who were born before you, the demigods, demons, nagas, human beings, birds, beasts, reptiles, etc., as well as all the phenomenal manifestations of the universes, namely the planets, stars, asteroids, luminaries, lightning, and thunder, along with the inhabitants of the different planetary systems, namely the Gandharvas, Apsaras, Yakshas, Rakshas, Bhutaganas, Urugas, Pashus, Pitas, Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, and all other different varieties of living entities, including the birds, beasts, trees, and everything that be, all are covered by the universal form of the Lord at all times, namely past, present, and future, although He is transcendental to all of them, eternally existing in a form not exceeding 9 inches. Pradesha Matram. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding His universal form, maintains everything in the creation both internally and externally. So you see, so we can understand how the universal form is very, very crucial in many ways. It, number one, um, it's a foolproof evidence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of the real God, compared to the impostor rascals who pose themselves as God. And then it gives an understanding of how the universe works, connected with the Lord, and it gives Brahma the blueprint for creation. Every time he has to create, after every pralaya, he has to recreate exactly as they were before, and that happens not only during his night but also after Manvantara. Some Manvantaras more than others. Like after the sixth Manvantara, there was a very big inundation, very big destruction, pralaya, that happened, which does not happen after every Manvantara. There is some destruction, but not to that extent. But after Chakshusha Manu, sixth Manu, there was a huge pralaya. So every time there is a partial, or partial but still very much more intense pralaya, the recreation of all of that has to happen again by meditation on the universal form. That brings to our attention something else. So, in other words, our service, like Brahma's service, was to create this whole the universe, and he has to manage everything. So, it is not only in the creation of it, but also in the managing aspects of it. Like the sustenance of the universe happens because of religious principles and physical um, parameters, but also religious parameters. So, if the population is religious, then the cooperation between humans and the demigods, and concomitantly to the animals. So, when there is a fire, one person in the house may start the fire and it may go out of control. But everybody who's in that house will feel that effect of that fire, and they will also suffer because of it. So, similarly, the animals also suffer because of the activities of the human beings, because they are not dharmic, they are not aligned with the Supreme Lord, and there will be all kind of natural disasters, wars, and diseases or whatever. Animals also get affected by all of that. If there is a big war, animals also suffer because they can't live in a peaceful environment like it is now. And then if there's a natural disturbance, an earthquake or a fire or something, forest fire or something like that, the animals also suffer. But then these things happen because the demigods, they inflict such suffering. But if we are religious, for example, then there is cooperation between the demigods, and that's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? 3:11. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vah parasparam bhavayantah shreya paramavapsyatha. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. And this is why 310 is very important. Chapter 3, text 10 of Bhagavad Gita. Sahayajñāha praja srishtva. And very important. Sahayajñāha praja srishtva. Purovacha prajapati anena prasavishyadham eshavostvishta kamadhuk. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu. So both sacrifices and men and demigods happened at the same time. And blessed them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna or sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." And by cooperating with the demigods, this cooperation is so much missing today. People want to do because of the atheistic idea of all the demigods are all some fairy tales only for Hindutva. We have to pray to demigods, some temple, something. But there's no relevance, practical relevance in life. They have no faith that actually there are demigods and they will actually supply, or they have something vague because they still very much depend on technological, scientific, this way or that way, whatever. So, so this is what is that cooperation? Okay, now let's go back. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the controller of immortality and fearlessness, and He is transcendental to death, and the fruitive actions of the material world. O Narada or Brahmana, it is therefore difficult to measure the glories of the Supreme Person. So anyway, so in this way, I think you can go on reading, but I'm just going to not do that. So you see, Purusha Sukta gives a description of this universal form, and if we understand the universal form has all these different applications, and it is the prototype of the universe connected with the Lord, and based on which the whole universe is created, and that's why it is a secondary creation. The Lord actually has already created. Universal form means the entire creation is there in Him already. But Brahma just reminds himself of the description of each of those and then brings it to fruition as we see it. But in its subtle form, it's already there. So he sees it and then he meditates on it, meditates on the descriptions, and that reminds him of how to do everything again. Oh, yeah, this. It gives all the standard instructions, standard operating procedures, SOP, they call it in organizational terms, standard operating procedures, checklists, decision trees. So all these things is already there. The seed of the entire universe is there in that universal form and is the total controller. And Arjuna saw that if the scientists understand this universal form, that will be the beginning of their God consciousness, because then they can see everything to be connected with the Lord. That's the proper vision. And we have to present it like that in a scientific way. Just like this, you see Bhagavatam, the Purusha Sukta, how everything is connected with the Lord is mentioned here. So, like that, there are so many descriptions throughout the Bhagavatam. So, in this way, we have to understand this is the significance of the universal form. Of course, there's going to be so much more significance which I cannot explain. I don't even have knowledge about. Like the four okay, I'll just show you that before I wrap up. You see, okay. You see, Mukhabahurupādebhyah purushasya sah chattaro jagnyare varna gunair vipradayah prithak. Each of the four social orders headed by the Brahmanas was born through different combinations of the modes of material nature from the face, arms, thighs, and feet of the Supreme Lord in his universal form. Thus, the four spiritual orders were also generated. Now, the four spiritual orders are mentioned in this verse 11, 17, 14, I think. Yes. Just now, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, four varnas. Now, four ashramas. Grihashramo jaghanato brahmacharyam hrido mama vaksha sthalad vanevasa sannyasa shiras sthitah. The married order of life appears from the loins of my universal form, and the celibate students came from my heart. The forest dwelling retired order of life appeared from my chest, and the renounced order of life was situated within the head of my universal form. So here in the 11th canto, there is a description of the universal form. In second canto, the Purusha Sukta confirmed there is a description of universal form. So in this way, different aspects of the universal form are explained in different parts of the Bhagavatam. And you can see the Sahasra Shirsha. Now you see head. The sannyasis are from the head, the Brahmanas are also from the head. So this is two different expansions of the universal form's head. So Sahasra Shirsha, all these are different heads of the Supreme Lord. And of course, the face, the eyes, and all these things, not only the sun, there will be other things also. So in so many ways, each of his parts, from each of his parts comes so many things. From each of his parts. So all those are different heads. All those are. It's not like a horrible millipede. We are describing Sahasra Siksha Sahasrapath, 1,000 legs millipede. No, it's in fact the millipede is also a creation of the Lord. Sahasrapath. we cannot deny it, right? It's also the creation of the Lord, and unlimited expansions, anekadha, situated in one place, unlimited expansions of the universe. So this is the other description, other understanding of the different parts of the Lord. Because Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti, his every sense can do the action of every other sense, and can do many actions at once. So in this way we can understand, there are different places in the Bhagavatam where the universal form is described, and what Arjuna saw was a fantastic. It was not fantasy, but it's fantastic description that is given, that he saw everything in one place. So we don't have to feel dejected that we cannot see the same way. Just by hearing of those descriptions, we're associating and we can get a glimpse. Even though we don't have that vision, at least we can hear about it. Should be thankful that even we can hear, we are made aware of such a thing called the universal form, which is tatraikastham jagatkritsnam. In one place he's sitting, and then the entire universe is able to see. That's something which is even to know that such a thing is possible is so blissful to is to know, blissful to even know how powerful the Lord is and how he is conducting himself, how he's empowering his devotees to perceive him, all these things. So the other thing, yes, I was actually explaining this thing, that Brahma, he has to meditate on the Lord in order to do his service of creation. Similarly, we will be efficient in our service if we meditate on the Lord. And that meditation is easily done in this Kali Yuga by chanting Hare Krishna. So if our chanting is properly done, then our service to him can also be properly done. It's a lesson for myself as well, because I myself need to improve a lot in my service. But this is the way that we have to meditate on the Lord and helplessly pray to him that please engage me in your service. Please give me the intelligence to serve you. Just imagine, Brahma had to manage the entire creation of the universe, and he has to so carefully, meticulously create everything, that it matches the universal form. And it's the instructions of the Lord actually. The universal form is actually the instructions to Brahma how to create the prototype of the universe. So from that, he created everything, and he has to be very, very particular in each and everything. And you see how perfect the creation is, how nicely the creation is made, and all that artistic nature of that is Brahma's service. He took the instructions from the Lord and created wonderfully. Of course, the Lord is the real creator, he is the secondary creator. So, similarly, we should know that the order of the spiritual master is there, and we have to meditate on that order carefully with full mindedness, um, and praying to the Lord, and then we will be able to execute our service nicely. So many things here that we can learn. So, I'll stop it here. Any questions or comments on this topic? So that was the theme of today's class, the significance of the universal form. So this is some of the significance that I can think of. There may be way many more. So here, 4:24:39 is mentioned here. As the individual body of the living entity is composed of millions of cells, germs, and microbes, the universal body of the Supreme Lord similarly contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. 8542. Animalistic lusty desires come from his sense of touch. So there is another description of the universal form, I guess. 8542. Greed is generated from his lower lip, affection from his upper lip. You see, this is Sahasrashirsha again. What is that head? Again, there are lips, all these things. You see, bodily luster from his nose, animalistic lusty desires from his sense of touch, Yamaraj from his eyebrows, and eternal time from his eyelashes. So, this is probably. What is this description of the universal form? Is it the one shown to Bali Maharaj? All learned men say that the five elements, eternal time, fruitive activity, three modes of material nature, varieties produced by these modes are all creations of Yogamaya. This material world is therefore extremely difficult to understand. Again, 8543. But those who are highly learned have rejected it. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of everything, be pleased with us. Durvibhavyam. No one can understand how everything is happening in this material world by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his material energies. Again, you see. The question is, but isn't he influenced by the mode of ignorance if he sleeps for all 12 hours of his night? He is, I don't know if he sleeps all 12 hours. Yeah, he sleeps, kind of. That's what I understand. The night of Brahma, with the dawn. So, anyway, it's roughly about 12 hours. But yeah, I mean, that's why he becomes groggy. But then when he wakes up, he starts his work again. 2934 Ayurveda quote, what? Hmm. 2934. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge become illusioned, and therefore the so called scientists, physiologists, empiric philosophers, etc., become dazzled by the glaring reflection of the sun, moon, electricity, etc., and deny the existence of the Supreme Lord, putting forward theories of different speculations about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of everything material. The medical practitioner may deny the existence of the soul in the physiological bodily construction of an individual person, but he cannot give life to a dead body, even though all the mechanisms of the body exist even after death. The psychologist makes a serious study of the physiological condition of the brain as if the construction of the cerebral lump were the machine of the functioning mind. But in the dead body, the psychologist cannot bring back the function of the mind. So there is a huge conundrum in philosophy, the brain mind conundrum, where in Western philosophy they cannot understand which is the cause of what. They say mind over matter, but if there is no matter, how there is a mind? If there is no brain, then how there is a mind? And if mind over matter is true, then if you can put a mind over anything and it can overpower your material bodily limitations, you know. So they don't know. But you see here, it's much different. We have House is very clear because the brain is still there in a dead body, but the mind isn't there. These scientific studies of the cosmic manifestations of the bodily construction, independent of the Supreme Lord, are different, reflective, intellectual gymnastics only. But at the end, they're all illusion and nothing more. Actually, this is very much connected with the topic today. Although I think according to go down, it seems. But this part is also nice, though. Although the reflective energy of the Lord displays various illusions to the eyes of persons with a poor fund of knowledge, the sane person knows clearly that the Lord can act even from far, far beyond our vision by his different energies, just as fire can diffuse heat and light from a distant place. In the medical science of the ancient sages known as the Ayurveda, there is definite acceptance of the Lord's supremacy in the following words. Jagadyoner anichhasya chidanandaika rupinah पुंसोस्ति प्रकृतिर्नित्या प्रतिच्छायेव भास्वतः अचेतनापि चैतन्य योगेन परमात्मनः अकरोद्विश्वमखिलम् अनित्यं नाटकाकृतिम्. There is one supreme person who is the progenitor of this cosmic manifestation and whose energy acts as Prakriti or the material nature, dazzling like a reflection. By such illusory action of Prakriti, even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of the living entity of the Lord, and the Lord caused to move by the cooperation of the living entity of the Lord, and the material world appears like a dramatic performance to the ignorant eyes. The ignorant person, therefore, may even be a scientist or physiologist in the drama of Prakriti, while the sane person knows Prakriti as the illusory energy of the Lord. By such a conclusion, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita, it is clear that the living entities are also a display of the Lord's superior energy, Paraprakriti, just as the material world is a display of the Lord's inferior energy, Aparaprakriti. The superior energy of the Lord cannot be as good as the Lord, although there is very little difference between the energy and the possessor of the energy, or the heat and the fire. So, yeah. Okay, so I think I'll stop it there. Okay, so I'll stop it here. जय श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. What? Now you're asking question. After everything is ended, is daily exercise for maintaining body bad for the soul? Well, you can walk and chant and dance and kirtan. That can be the exercise enough. Okay, so I think I'll stop it here. जय श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत गौर वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा।